There we go. Oh, I got
Yay!
you.
We did it! Yay!
All
All
right.
right, so I'm just gonna adjust my camera slightly.
Yeah, how's mine?
Great! You look great. We can see your beautiful works in the background. This is so great. Okay, so just going to introduce myself to start off here in case everyone's like, who's this person on Karen's Instagram Live? So my name's Cori Jaye, and I'm a digital media mentor, and I've been working so much with Karen on a bunch of different platforms. If you haven't seen her website recently, check it out, KarenCornelius.com. She's done so much work on her website, and we've done work on Instagram and a whole bunch of different platforms. And her new show, actually, as well, we looked at that platform as well. But we'll get into that more in a second. So I just want to say that I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be asking Karen some questions and kind of facilitating this talk about her recent works. So, Karen, for everybody who doesn't know you or people that may be joining from my Instagram, why don't you go ahead and just tell everybody a bit about yourself as an artist and a bit about your background.
Okay. I'm primarily a printmaker, but I've done a lot of experimenting in other media as well. And of course, more recently, I've been doing drawing, which is what the whole hydrangea exhibition is about. But I have done more printmaking than anything else, and have experimented with electro etching and lots of different methods of printmaking that are less toxic and more environmentally responsible. So I've done a lot of experimenting in those areas, which has been really interesting.
Amazing. That's so important for today, right? Anything that you can change and turn into environmentally practice is so good for us all. So that's so awesome. I love that that's part of your practice.
Yeah, and of course I was traditionally trained, and back then really there wasn't a lot of interest in health or environment in the same way that there is now. So, I learned how to do it using traditional methods, and I didn't want to give up that quality. But I found other alternative ways of working which don't give up the quality. You still get really high quality results. So
Yeah,
that's
so you're like a pioneer of printmaking, environmentally friendly printmaking practices.
well, also I've been working a lot with students, and also when I had my children, I didn't really want toxic things around, and so that pushed me in that direction as well, which was really important. Yeah.
So interesting.
I'm just now remembering that one of the earlier people that I worked with, excuse me, was on Bruce Onabrekpea from Nigeria. He was here. I think his wife was a diplomat in the U.S. or something, and I was in Ottawa, and they brought him in to give a workshop, and I was just so impressed with his experimental ideas and how he tried different things. And I think that really moved me from my traditional printmaking and started to get me thinking in more experimental and different ways. So I would credit him as actually being very important to my printmaking exploration.
So can you share with us one of the things that you learned about environmentally responsible printmaking, or something that you kind of employed in your practice?
Well, certainly one of the major things, and most of the printmaking studios around the country or around the world have done this now, moved from using Varsol to clean up to using vegetable oil. Works just as well, and you don't have all the toxic fumes, which was huge. Like, it was really important.
Amazing.
The other thing that I mentioned electro etching, and honestly, that has been a really fascinating process, and fascinating from the point of view that I'm getting high quality results, but there are no fumes, and the actual the copper sulfate and salt mixed with distilled water doesn't degrade or doesn't get weaker over time, and really lasts for a very long time. And when I'm using this process, I don't have a lot of disposal issues.
Yeah.
Even you know, there's a little bit of residue on the plates after you've etched, and I just dip that into a bath of steel wool and water, and that takes the residue off. And really, there's very little compared to some of the other processes where you end up with a lot of disposal issues. What are you going to do with this? And you don't want to put it into the city system, water system.
Right.
You know, you have to decide what to do with it. Whereas this is really important because it eliminates that.
Yeah, and I feel like these types of practices are going to be so important for the next generation of printmakers, you know. I really feel like people would benefit from, you know, you have a new YouTube channel, and this would be such a good video for you, environmentally responsible printmaking practices, right? Because I'm sure that there's going to be people that are going to be looking them up coming up. So, okay, so let's talk a bit about your new online exhibition. So you have an online exhibition up right now. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it and about the inspiration for it?
Okay, the online exhibition is Kunstmatrix Gallery, and it's a really cool, very different approach for me. I, you know, thought about the idea of how do I get my work out there once my exhibitions were closed and the pandemic kind of shut everything down. And so, you know, I thought about the idea, but I had no way to start. I didn't know where to go. So I was lucky. I saw a YouTube video done by Sergio Gomez out of Chicago. He runs Art Next Level, which is a really cool program for artists to develop, you know, different things related to social media and that kind of thing. Anyway, I watched his video and it gave me confidence to try it. So I went to the program because, you know, it's a lot. As you said, we've done a lot of work together and there's been some very steep learning curves for me.
You have risen to the occasion every time though. So proud of you.
Well, and you know, it just doesn't come naturally to me like it does to my kids, right? I have to work hard for this.
Totally.
So I went in and he had walked us step by step through. So I went in and I followed along and it was really quite user friendly. So I put all my information in there and I loved the gallery space. You rent a space for whatever period of time you want. You put all your pieces in and you can put them all on the wall. You can choose your frames and your mats. It's very fun.
Yeah, and this is all digital. All digital, like all online. Yeah.
Yes, it's very cool. And then once they're all up, a visitor can come and walk around the gallery space. They can take the tour and not do anything and let the program do it for you. Or they can individually, you know, go in and look close at a piece. You can press on the little button on the right-hand side and the title and all the information will come up for you, just like, you know, you'd have a regular. And
it's not just two-dimension. You have a video as well as your two-dimensional pieces as well in the show.
Yeah, I have a video that just shows the process where I actually videoed the entire drawing from the beginning to the end, and then I sped it up so it's only a 1-minute drawing, but you can see the process. You can see how it develops, which is actually kind of cool.
Cool. So why don't you tell us the title of your online exhibition? And I know that in your exhibition, your titles are all really thought out and really thought-provoking. So tell us a bit about the title of your show and what inspired it, and then maybe talk a little bit about the titles of your actual pieces in the show as well.
Okay, so the title of the show is Fading In and Out of Glory. And I worked with a friend of mine to come up with some of the initial titles. And this was one that we'd actually threw out on the table. We actually have this really fun working titling relationship. We sit around and she brings a whole bunch of stuff to the table because she is more of a writer. And then we just play with it and we put more out and we, you know, anyway. So that one was there and it was sitting there and it hadn't really connected with any individual piece. And I kept coming back to it and coming back to it. Finally, I said, you know, this is the title of this whole series because the whole series is about, you know, fading in and out of glory. It's about the pandemic, about the emotional ups and downs and the roller coaster emotions that happened during the pandemic, and it's about the fact that the pandemic lasted over a year. So we faded from one season to the next, to the next, to the next. I, in the very beginning, thought, well, maybe it would last a month, maybe two. And I thought that was just crazy.
Boy, were you wrong.
Totally. I never imagined a year and a half later I would still be drawing my hydrangeas. It's not over. It's close. And it looks like it's coming, the end, but, you know, I'm still drawing them.
So for people who haven't seen your online exhibition yet, first of all, they can get to it by going to the link in your Instagram profile, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So for everyone after this talk, if you haven't checked out her exhibition, you can go to the link in her Instagram profile to get you there. But why don't you show us, I know you have a couple pieces with you there that are in the show, so why don't you show us some of your work?
Okay, I can show you. Would you like me to show you the cards? Because you can see the sequence. I'll show you the sequence first.
Sure.
I'll show you some of the big pieces. So, like this one was the very first one that I did. All right, and
Nice.
and that was the start, when I had no idea that I was going to be doing it for a year, over a year. This one was called Bright Blooms, Tangled Foliage.
So nice. And what's interesting actually about the pieces in Karen's show is that they follow these hydrangeas throughout the seasons. So she has some that are covered in snow, like she was drawing in the winter, and then she was drawing in the summer, and you have like the blooms and everything, and the titles of the show kind of follow that as well, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, and the reason that I actually ended up drawing my hydrangeas is we were limited to our house. We couldn't go anywhere. And they were right outside my studio window. So they were accessible, and I loved them. And I started drawing them, and I just haven't quit. So this one was Drooping Leaves, Lurking Despair. This is when, you know, once the summer was over last year, and I always have that little sense in the fall, you know, a bit of despair, knowing that this warm weather is finished and I'm moving into, you know, a whole different season, which I love the seasons, but they get long.
Yeah. At the end of the season, you're ready for the next.
Yeah, summer's my favorite. And so this one was called Anxious Petal Head's Uncertain Future. And again, this was done in the fall.
Yeah, you can really get that feeling. I feel like that's such a good name for that piece because it's very expressive.
Yeah, and there was that sense of uncertainty. There was a sense of fear because you were so afraid that you might catch the virus, or you might give it to someone else, or, you know, like there was that anxiety that was there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
you feel, go ahead. Do you feel like this show kind of helped you cope with that, right?
Oh yeah, this was my survival strategy.
Amazing.
Without this, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really my survival strategy, and it worked. It made a big difference, right? Because I could actually express my feelings. I could put them down there, even, you know, all by myself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So this one's called Brave, Courageous Survival in Lockdown.
Wow. Beautiful. And why don't you talk to us a little bit about the mediums that you used for this? Because I know traditionally you're doing a lot of printmaking and these are drawings.
Again, I'm layering like I do in printmaking. And for instance, on this one, Dreary, Distressed, and Troubled, I've got layering of color in the background. I have another whole series that I'm working on. I'm going to do an exhibition of where I've used some of these same colors. I'm using the yellows and the mauves, symbols of bruising, so that I'm using that to reference, you know, some of the experiences. And then I'm using graphite to make the drawing, like different. I'm using it in pencils and in blocks and in crayon kind of shapes. I have a whole lot of graphite, and so I'm putting that down first, and then I'm using some watercolor. Sometimes I'm using resist, but mainly the drawing is what I find really important, and really I'm using that to express the different things, right? Oh,
And then
okay, go ahead.
maybe we can see some of the full-size pieces, and you
Okay,
can just hold them up kind of close so we can see all that detail in there.
sure. This is the one. This is the absolute latest one that I just finished. And
Wow.
you can see, you know, the watercolor. You can see the graphite lines. I put lines on first, then I will add some color. Then I'll
Mm-hmm.
go put more lines on. Sometimes go back in and add more color.
Mm-hmm.
You can see
Beautiful.
there.
I love all the greens in that one and how they contrast with the purple.
And I was talking to my friend Brenda George and saying, man, these are taking me so much longer, you know. And I don't know why. She says, oh, there's just so much more information, right? With the summer.
Yeah. So much more detailed, right?
And then here's like they're all very different, right? Because it just depends on the day. This one I did the day that, you know, the insurrection in the U.S. took place, when they stormed the Capitol, and I was just like so totally disturbed by the whole issue.
Yeah,
So,
and you can really feel that. And this is a winter scene.
yeah, because it was January.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is kind of interesting because I tried something different where I actually used a resist.
Mm.
It's a white oil pastel crayon, and I put the resist on, and then I added the watercolor. And I fully intended to put the graphite on it, but I liked it so much just as it is that I left it.
And for the people that may not know what a resist is, can you talk a little bit about that process of using resist in your work?
Yeah, and I've actually used it in my printmaking, you know, a fair bit as well. And a resist is it. You can use a crayon, you can use an oil pastel, anything that's oily. And basically, when you put it down on the paper, it will resist a watercolor or anything else that you put over top of it, which is really cool because then you get this beautiful line, because it's not an even line like a pencil or a pen. It's much more. It's got more texture to it, as you can see in that, right? If you look closely at that, you can see.
Yeah, and resists are typically like waxy
Yeah,
kind of texture to
yeah,
repel like a fluid medium.
yeah. And see,
Yeah, you could really see that there.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've used it on my plates as well, and then it will resist the mordant, whatever I'm using to etch with, and that's really cool too.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have a favorite piece in the show? Was there one that you were just so in love with that felt so good to create, or that's your favorite one that you really want to show people?
Well, I can show you two that are kind of. It's hard to pick a favorite, and there are over 50 of them.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it really is hard, but this one, reveling in mass gatherings. This was one
Mm,
of my favorites from last year when I first started this, and I found this. I just love the expressive feeling of it, and the
hmm
actual memory of making it.
hmm
One, the whole idea of gathering with people was just, you know, so special, and I wanted to express that. And
hmm
I saw in my hydrangeas all these beautiful blooms just hanging out together, and it just made me really remember and wish for those days.
Yeah,
And
for
that was
sure.
the very beginning,
Hmm
when it was easier to remember, you know, how cool it was, you know, hanging out with people. And then this one, late summer's decline, creeping despair.
mm,
There's something about this one that I've always was drawn to. I loved what happened to the leaves, and how the hydrangeas turned a golden brown, and they were
I love the
beautiful
colors in
in
this
a
one.
whole different way, like
So
absolutely
nice.
beautiful. But you could see the decline, and you could
Hmm
hear the rustling of the leaves and the wind. And then I think I just love the background, the color that I put in there. It just spoke to me. So this is
Amazing.
another one that, you know, I'm really drawn to.
Beautiful.
I don't know. It would be really hard. Like, when people pick one and take it home, I'm always, I'm always really happy that the pieces get a good home, but I never know what's going to connect with people and why one will, why you choose one over the other. Same thing with, the art that I've collected from different people. You choose it, something connects with you.
That's right.
And then, you enjoy living with that. And I've got pieces that I've had for, many years, and I'm still just as happy to look at them as when I first got them, right?
Yeah, and you really never know what people are going to like. Like you might do a piece that you love, but then it doesn't get as much love as another piece that you've done that you really don't connect with even yourself that much, and the people love it. So it's so true, right? You just kind of do your thing and throw it out there, right?
Yes. And you never know. You never know, right? You never know.
So I was wondering a bit about your process. Everybody has their own creative process for creation. So I'm just wondering what is interesting or different about your process, or even if you can just talk to us about your process. So like, do you have any rituals that you do before you start drawing, or do you just kind of get into it, or do you light a candle? Like anything that you can share with us about your process?
Yeah, well, one thing that's really cool is because my hydrangeas are right here, I either am drawing where I'm sitting and looking out the window, just over, just beyond the window is where the hydrangeas are. Or when it's lovely weather like this, I love to go outside and draw right from my patio table. So when that happens, I'll set up my drawing board, and I'll set up my graphites. I have them all in this great big tub.
Oh, wow. You're ready.
And check out these, I really need to get back to a store. I'm so glad that I'm vaccinated and I'm able to go out again, because I'm going to have to go out really soon and buy some more.
Those are getting pretty small.
I am going down to the very end. It's hard. It's getting harder and harder to actually use them because, they're just tiny.
Yeah.
But I'm not giving up yet.
That's right.
Because they're my favorites.
Some people use them till they go, right?
Yes. So I set everything up, and I've been trying to take some pictures. So sometimes I set up my my phone with the little stand, and I have in order to do that I have to bring my cords all the way out because things will run out of power. So there's certain kind of little details like that I'll set up when I'm working outside.
Those are the things that nobody thinks about, right? The power cords and all these types of things.
Yeah, and then trying to remember, should I shoot it, shoot the video for Instagram, which is vertical, or should I shoot it in case I need a video later, which is horizontal? So
yeah, like there's all these things that you have to think about when you're creating digital pieces of content that people wouldn't think that you'd have to think about, right? And often it's way more.
I would never have thought about that, and even when I went to do a small video about the hydrangeas, I realized that last year I didn't know to do it for Instagram or for video, and I didn't have a single picture in the summer of the hydrangeas. I just didn't take one.
Yeah.
I was so shocked. Like, how could I have forgotten to take a picture of what I'm drawing?
Yeah, I know. I find for me too, like I have to make sure that I have everything easy to record and set up, because once you're creating, you're kind of in this zone, right? Yes. So then to have to be like filming the creating, it kind of takes you out of that zone. So
it's really hard. I've only ever once filmed the entire drawing, which is the little video that's in the exhibition. I often do little snippets. I do it more for Instagram, so there'll be short little videos of me making drawing lines, which actually was really fascinating because I've obviously never watched myself drawing before. And I was just really interested in how I make the marks. I thought this is really cool. I did not know.
Yeah, for sure.
What it looks like when I'm making them. But
All
that,
these little intricacies.
I know. But the one that I did where I filmed the whole thing, that was really a challenge. One, because the sun kept moving and I kept having to move my table back because I didn't want,
Mm-hmm.
shadows all over the piece.
Mm-hmm.
But also just, to be conscious of the video while I was actually drawing, that was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really done it again because, it was intrusive.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So
But how long does it take you, like on average, I know each piece is probably different, but how long did it take you to finish one of the big works that you created? Like how long did you spend on each piece? And did you do them in multiple sessions or did you kind of do them all in one session?
again, that depends. So usually I'll spend a number of hours in the afternoon. Like it'll be, I almost always draw in the afternoon. I usually do my computer work and whatever else I need to do, marketing or whatever, in the mornings or grants or whatever. And then, so I'll spend 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon working on pieces. Sometimes they get finished, but sometimes I have to come back the next day and finish them. Or, a few days later. I have 2 right now that have lines on them, like the basic drawing.
The base drawing, yep.
Nothing else on them right now. And I was doing those because I wanted to capture the hydrangeas as they are now, but I have to work on my next exhibition because it's going to open in September, and so I was sort of juggling both. So yeah. I haven't actually finished those yet.
You're so busy.
It is pretty wild.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's coming up for you?
I'm going to do an exhibition in September. This is one that was canceled during the pandemic, which brings me to, back to why I was actually drawing my hydrangeas. It was quite disheartening in the beginning when first, Martha Street shut down, and that's where I'd been working and making plates and print making, and I no longer could go in every day. That was a big deal. And then I get the email that the exhibition is canceled, and then I get my grant to go to Bali and study Balinese batik, and I get this wonderful note that says you've been awarded this grant, and I'm going, oh, this is good. I can't go.
That's so heartbreaking.
So sad.
Yeah, so heartbreaking.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm still holding it, and I've gotten an extension, but we'll see whether I can. I'm hoping to go in January, but we'll see how that pans out. But all of that, happened at once, and so then you're trying to figure out, well, now what do I do?
Totally. What's next for me, right?
Yeah. And so that's when, having the hydrangeas right here, having it available, something that I could actually do. And the whole concept was really important to me, of actually being able to explore all of the depth of feeling and emotion. Because I assume that many people could identify with all those emotions, and the fact that it was roller coaster, that, every day wasn't the same.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And every day you had to figure out how to move forward, even though every day was so much the same.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And so that was why, coming up with the idea and then using the hydrangeas to actually implement that and to explore that, was really important to me. So
yeah, I feel like that's something that everybody can connect with, right? Is, not knowing what tomorrow's going to be like and being stressed or having anxiety about the future, for sure.
Yeah. And feeling anxious about so many things. I mean, there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of anxiety, there was a lot of wondering, and then there was the shutdowns, and the biggest and the most hardship that I endured was not being able to see my granddaughter for periods of time, and that was like super hard for me. And then hearing about all the deaths and the sad stories and that kind of thing, and knowing some friends who passed away from the disease. So, you know, it was a, you know, a pretty stressful time. And
For sure.
now I don't think we quite realize, but going back is going to be a different kind of stress. It's going to be good because we're going to be really happy to be able to go back to doing things. But there's going to be a transition that we're all, I think, going to feel in various ways as we start going back and re-engaging in real life. Although I think that there's a lot of things that we have learned during this, which we're going to keep.
Yeah, for sure. Like speaking of that kind of thing, I feel like this is a good segue into talking about your online exhibition and kind of the, so we know what's led you to having an online exhibition, but why don't you tell us a little bit about the positive aspects that have come from this online exhibition that maybe wouldn't have been there if you did have your online show?
Yeah, certainly. And I think moving forward, I'm going to continue to marry both the online and the physical exhibitions, because I think both are really important. During this time, a lot of people become much more comfortable on social media, much more comfortable with a screen in their hand, much more comfortable going to exhibitions and looking at them. I certainly have. I was waiting to have blood drawn or something. I was waiting for physio. I don't know. And I was enjoying an exhibition in New York on my phone. And I was just thinking about that going, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And I would never have thought to do it before. And it may not have been available. I mean, more people are trying to do better with virtual tours and online presence with their exhibitions.
And from like an accessibility standpoint, think of all the people that were able to come to your show that maybe wouldn't have been able to come to in physical person, or maybe couldn't have ingested it the way that they can online. So it really opens up the floor to be so much more accessible as well, because, you know, hopefully people will be able to go to shows again very soon. I'm certainly hoping so, but also
there's lots of people that don't live where you live.
That's right.
And that's really cool. This is another thing that I should mention. When I did put my online show up, I was expecting to be kind of disappointed after it went live. Because I was thinking, okay, you know, I'm all by myself. I push the button and I'm going to sit here and wonder if anybody saw it.
That's right.
And I was thinking, when I go to a physical exhibition, you have a lot of excitement of a 2 or 3, 4-hour opening, when you talk to lots of people and, you know, you share ideas and you interact. And that, I said, I don't know if I'm going to get that. But I was pleasantly surprised. It was so cool. I went live Saturday morning with it, and I spent the entire weekend answering texts from people all over the world. And that was a high for a whole weekend instead of 3 hours.
Yeah, because you've done so much traveling. You've done so many artist residencies all around the world. So you must have so many connections with people that would never be able to come to a show that you've done.
Yeah. So it was really cool. I was pleasantly surprised, and I would do it again because it was so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And throughout, since it's been open, you know, periodically I'm engaging with people who've seen it, people who, you know, go and click the link in my bio and go to it, people on Facebook who've gone to see it. So it's an ongoing
that's right.
as well. So, you know,
and it's easy for people to go check it out a second time.
Yeah, because often when you have a physical exhibition, you open it and then you sometimes post that you're going to be there certain hours and a few people show up at those times. But other than that, you really have very little engagement with your exhibition. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm expecting my exhibition in September to have, you know, the engagement in real life, which I hope people can come to, and I hope, you know, a number of people can come to. And then I'm hoping to have a virtual tour and a number of other ways to engage with people online, so that that can also happen during the exhibition, and it won't just be a one-day, event.
Yeah. And with the people that did come and that you were messaging with, what was the response for the show that you got from them, or what was something that they really enjoyed about it?
Well, I think a lot of people said, it was so easy to navigate.
Yeah, the user
And
experience, right?
yeah, and I agree. I mean, and partly why I picked that particular program, because I've been, and why I was hesitant before that. I've gone to exhibitions earlier on in the pandemic that were virtual, and was totally frustrated by the experience. I either couldn't get to the work, or I couldn't see it up close, or I
That's right.
something and it would go weird places, and I couldn't find out the information or whatever. And it was
Yes, so
complex, whereas this super user friendly.
that's
and
right.
You write in, and then you have the option to manipulate, to go closer if you want to see really close and see some details. But it doesn't kick you out to some weird place if you do that. You just continue
That's right.
on, and you can
Yeah.
use the little navigation bar. It's really cool.
Yeah, they have the little arrows, the little navigation arrows, and you can move forward and backward like you're really in the space. And like Karen said, you can click to see a work up close, so you can check out the details. And then there's also a button to click to check out the title of the piece, a little more information about the piece. And if you're interested in purchasing one, there's like information there about how you can do that as well. And then navigating to the left and right is really nice. And also, like when you first enter the exhibition, you actually have the option to have a guided tour, which will take you from piece to piece. So that's really nice too. But like we had mentioned earlier, it's not just flat works that you can do. Like Karen also had that speed drawing video. I'm always saying speed painting, but it's speed drawing, which shows a bit about her process, which is really interesting as well. So I feel like having this type of platform was perfect timing for where we're at. Right?
Yeah, no, it worked really well, and even the video is really smooth, easy to you just press on it and it starts. Like it's really easy. Yeah, I was impressed.
Right on.
You can't put a video in there that's more than like a minute or two. You can only do short videos, but that's all you want in a program like this, right? So
right on.
It worked really well. Yeah, no, it was good.
So why don't you tell people a bit about where they can find you, so where they can find you online, and if they want to support you, what type of works are you selling? So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Of course, my website is KarenCornelius.com, and when you go there, you can see different exhibitions. You can go to the shop and see all of the pieces that are for sale. I have original work for sale, as well as cards and some reproduction prints. And I should, cards have been popular. They're really cool. A number of people have bought these. Like teachers have bought them at the end of school to give to all, to give to all of their, thank you notes to all their, or principals bought them for all their teachers.
And on the back of the cards, it features a little bit about Karen and her practice.
Yes.
And then the title of the work as well. So it's nice because if you're giving it to somebody who maybe is unfamiliar with Karen's work, they'll be able to connect with her as the artist and learn a little bit about her too.
Yeah, which is kind of cool, right?
And also on your website, which is so amazing. Like if you haven't seen her website, go check out her website. It's so good. But she also has so many images of all the travels that she's done in different residencies around the world, which is so, so cool to look at. And it's kind of like all through time. So there's some that were many, many years ago, and it's really interesting to be able to see them and see how far she's traveled, and obviously your work reflects that now. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for helping me, because honestly I couldn't have done it by myself.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And honestly, you've done so much work. It's amazing. So you should be really proud of yourself. the
Well,
beautiful website.
and I was thinking about, you know, the fact that some of the influences that have brought me here was, you know, just simply growing up in the Congo was just so fascinating, and being introduced, you know, to no formal art in my grade school or high school, but you know, really taking a good look at all the artisans and the artists who were local and seeing them being very, very innovative. There was one technique that just always blew my mind, where they would take the banana bark from a banana tree and create collage images using the different tonal variations in the banana bark, and I just found that absolutely fascinating. And then
That's
they
amazing.
paint on the flour sacks where the you know the flour and rice would come in, and they would just use that as their canvas, and I just thought that was so innovative. And then the wood burning into using you know, different tools and different techniques, and the fabrics of the designs and the patterns were always just absolutely fascinating. So
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, is there a technique that you can think about that you learned in your travels that has really influenced your work, or that you use a lot in your work today?
I certainly use the patterning and the texture. Though that has and the colors, like those were very formative, you know, experiences. And patterning has always been part, and layering, like, and I would say that, you know, that early influence was really important, and it's stuck with me for sure throughout all of my work, whether I'm printmaking or drawing or using mixed media. Those are
Wow.
that are there, right?
Yeah, you're so lucky to have those experiences.
Well, and it
That's
was
so
kind of,
cool.
I mean, looking back on it, you know, I didn't have anyone telling me, oh, there's fine art and there's craft and there's all these different things. It was just wonderful openness to whatever was going on. And that was, I think it was really special. When I came and did university in North America, then I had to understand that there were these different categories and whatever. But it was really, you know, the openness that I had, you know, as a young person growing up in Africa. I value that. I value, you know, that experience, and being able to sit, you know, in Uganda next to a carver making something really incredibly beautiful and watch the process, or somebody carving a relief piece, or making weaving a basket, or creating some ceramic patterning, like all those things. I just came to totally open and just fascinated and just loved it. And I had no, you know, I wasn't being critical. I was just absorbing all of this.
Yeah.
And that's a gift. I mean, I'm really thankful for it.
100%. Have you found that, so maybe you can tell everybody about your, some formal training that you've had as well. So that's kind of, you know, obviously you've learned so much around your travels that have influenced your work, but what about more formal training?
Yeah. Okay. So when I finished high school in Kenya, I'd actually done some. We didn't have any formal art classes, but they gave me a studio space at the school, which was really cool. And there was a local artist who was doing wildlife painting, and so I spent a fair bit of time working with him. And then when I came to North America, I went to a liberal arts college first. My parents were hoping I would go settle down and, you know, find a nice young man and get and forget this art school thing.
No, never.
If I still wanted to go after a year, I could go to art school. So I went to Philadelphia to Moore College of Art for my second year, and I finished the, you know, BFA there. And that was a huge, you know, interesting experience. I mean, it was just as well that I did my culture shock at the liberal arts school. And then I was ready to engage in the art program. And it was a really, really good program. I'm so glad that I did that.
So between that program and then what you learned from in your travels, do you feel like one weighs above the other, or do you feel like they both kind of mesh together and you're just happy to have them both? Like, is there a preference that you have, just out of curiosity?
Well, I feel that the one thing that I feel I had to unlearn from formal art school is the traditional printmaking that is so very precise. Although at the same time, I'm really happy I did that. I'm very careful when I do my work that I want it to be high quality.
That's right.
I actually care about whether the edges are wiped on my plate.
Yeah.
You know, whether there's, you know, spots of ink or, you know, I like to keep my paper clean. Those kind of things I learned in art school, and I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
Although occasionally I will choose to break the rules, and quite often after working with, say, you know, Bruce Autobrecht, I will choose to explore things, but I can explore them from a place of knowing the traditional ways and knowing and having done a lot of traditional drawing and that kind of thing, right? So that I'm very thankful for. And then, you know, when I moved to Ottawa, I worked with Leonard Gurmbrandt, who had done viscosity printmaking, and I learned a lot of techniques from him. And then I've done workshops with Nick Semenoff, and I've done a lot of conferences around the world with people that are very much interested in environmentally responsible ways of working.
Amazing.
And so I've learned and picked up more and more things from people, you know, all over, which has been really, you know, valuable.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Wow, you've had an amazing, amazing run in your art practice already, and I'm sure there's so much more to come.
Yes. I'm taking. This is very exciting. I'm taking a world tour with Leah May Printmaking Studio in Boston, starting on Saturday. We're virtually going to South Africa, Australia, Europe, Japan, and a whole bunch of other places.
Wow.
And I'm totally excited. It's going to be really, really fun. And I hope to follow it up with actually physically going to some of those places in the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure, right? And every time you do that, that's what enriches our practice, right? Learning from others, it's so important.
Yeah. And being immersed in a different culture and, you know, different ideas and people who have different perspectives. It's really fun. Yeah. Yeah,
totally. Okay, so just wrapping up here, is there anything else that you want to share with everybody about your online exhibition, Fading in and Out of Glory, before we go? I know we talked about a lot, but any last thoughts for people?
I hope people will go and click on the link in the bio. I wonder if people understand how to do that. Sometimes I don't realize that you can do that. And once I figured it out, it was like, oh, this is real cool.
Yeah, so if you go to Karen's bio on her Instagram page, it's the one that we're on right now. If you go to her profile page, there's one link at the top of her profile that you can click. And that is a link to her online exhibition, Fading in and Out of Glory. And it's hosted on a website called Kunstmatrix. So if you see that, you'll see that in the title, in the link. So if you see that, you know that you're going to the right place. But go check out Karen's exhibition. How many works are in the show total?
There's, I believe, 34.
Wow, there's 34 amazing works in the show. They're drawings that Karen's done all throughout the seasons. And yeah, support her work because it's amazing, and she's really done so much, and it shows. All right,
this was really fun. This is actually my first live.
We did it.
Really fun. It was
great.
Yeah. So
yeah, we went over lots of topics.
Who actually joined in and watched. This is very cool.
Yeah, thank
anybody
you,
who watches
everybody.
later, yeah, thank you so much for your support. I
Yeah,
really
thanks for
appreciate it.
joining us. All right, well, we'll see you next time.